Hello, welcome to this episode of FireDEV, a fireside chat with developers. So today I have Aizhan here, and she is a UX and UI designer. She did computer science at university, and she's also learning to code as well. So I'll hand it over to her, but just a little disclaimer: if you hear any music or any stuff in the background, Asian is just in a co-working space, so that's probably what you're hearing. But overall, you should be all good to listen to this podcast. So, you want to introduce yourself, Asian?
Yes, of course. My name is Aizhan. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you and your followers here who are listening to your podcasts. I'm really glad to be here. So today, I guess I'll first introduce myself and then tell my story, how I learned how to code, how I'm still in the process of learning it. Just I will tell my own story. I hope people will like it. So I'm a UX designer, as you mentioned. Um, So I've been working as a freelancer through Upwork.com. It's the platform for freelancers. Mm, so I do research, I do user research, I do UX design in Figma mostly. Sometimes I use Photoshop, Illustrator, but most of the work usually is done using Figma software. So I'm really glad to be here. I will also be telling you about my degree in computer science, how and why I decided to become a UX designer first, and then why I'm learning how to code now. So I will tell everything step by step.
Okay. So, are you full time on Upwork?
Yes, I am.
You are. And how are you finding that experience being a freelancer on Upwork? Because, I've tried some of the freelance platforms over the years, Upwork including Freelancer as well. And I haven't always had the best experience just in terms of, getting clients and stuff. I've found it a bit difficult. How have you found that experience?
I think it has downsides and positive sides. So I will start with positive sides. So usually when you're a freelancer and you want to learn something new, it gives you freedom to join any freelance platform. Upwork for me turned out to be a great platform. It's very clean, easy to understand. Really, there is no problem with understanding this platform. However, of course, there are downsides like finding the clients. Yes, at the beginning, you might have to send a lot of proposals, a lot of letters to a lot of people. You should also pay attention to how many people have been hired or how many people have applied for the same contract, the same job. So you have to really work hard at the beginning, but really it pays off at the end. In my case, it took only like maybe 1 week to find my first proper contract, and I have been hired by this contractor twice. So first he hired me, and then he liked my work, and then he decided to hire me again, and it was great for me. So, and also if you're a beginner, people usually when they hire, they usually understand your situation. Also, you have to understand. You have to explain yourself, who you are, why you're here. For example, in my case, at the beginning, I told openly, honestly, that I'm here to learn, practice, because I'm just starting. I'm a junior, so that really helped to build this really smooth communication with my job provider. So that really helped.
Okay. And are most of the roles that you get on there UX and UI based, or is it like some coding as well? Because obviously, UX and UI is your main thing, but you're also learning to code at the side, and you did coding at university. So, what sort of split is it?
Honestly, I'm not ready to take contracts for coding because I'm still learning. I will tell you why I'm still learning later when I tell you the story of mine from the beginning, why I went to university and learned how to code and so on. But Right now, I'm only working on UX design, UX research part, UI design as well, because really, I think after so many years of being interested in technology, programming, design altogether, I have figured out that the fundamentals of creating a product is to be able to really research what you want to create, research your user needs, and then maybe after understanding your users' needs, you can think about what to build. So I think at the beginning, when people go to university, I think it's very important to understand how to research. And when you do research, you understand what your users need. And then after that, you can decide what kind of coding skills do you need? Is it front end or back end? What kind of skills do you need to build that product really? At the beginning, it's always related to doing research, designing, at least being able to draw and create user flow, how your users will interact with your product. And then I think it's important to learn how to code. Coding should be the second step after doing research and making the design.
Yeah, I think that's a good point that you're making about, obviously having a good understanding, researching, and knowing the sort of the design of a system before going into coding. Is I know it's something that I've done, and I know many friends have done it, where you have an idea or you're working on a project and you jump straight into coding it and not actually analyzing the system, having an analysis stage, and then figuring things out, designing it, and then having a plan of action, and then go into coding, whether it's your own project, let's say your own app, your own indie idea, or whether it's actually a project for a client. And I think the other thing is, because you don't get anything out of the research and analysis stage that's sort of tangible, there's a lot of reluctance to almost do that or pay for that. Have you experienced that with any clients where they, you know, want to pay you for, like, obviously tangibles, but then the research phase they don't really value, but it takes time as well?
One example could be one project that I worked on. So at the beginning, obviously, I offered to do research, user need analysis. And at that stage, we realized that we don't really know what users need. So maybe this could be one example. We don't really know. We did research, we asked a lot of questions, and we realized that, what problem should we solve? Really, we don't know because we don't understand our users' needs. So at that point, we realized that we need more research, or we need to take a pause, like stop at this point, and we don't know what to build. So we decided to take a pause for 1 week or so to think, and then we came up with solution later on. But this project is still ongoing. However, what will happen in the future, we are still figuring out. But really, at the point where you do research, sometimes you don't know what your users need, and this is, maybe you said tangible, this is a great opportunity for people to at the beginning understand, before you spend so much money and time, to understand the problem, and really create a problem statement and hypothesis statement on what you are trying to build. And if you don't know, then this is a good time to stop working on this idea and start something new, working on something new. That would save time and money. I hope I answered this question correctly.
Yeah,
Did I
that's fine.
understand it correctly?
Yeah, that's fine. Obviously, everyone's experience is different as well. Also, what sort of UX and UI design work do you do mainly? The web, mobile, what sort of specifics?
I have done mobile, also web. Really, everything depends on the product. When you do research, you understand what platform suits best your users. For example, if your users need something easily approachable through mobile phone, like ordering food, for example, from a restaurant, which should be uh, available whenever, wherever you are, because mobile phones tend to be in our pockets all the time, right? We don't let it go anywhere. We always keep our phones with us. So the, these kinds of products should be approachable, available through mobile phone, for example. Don't I don't think a lot of people use websites to log in and to order food from restaurant. Maybe some people do that, but mostly people use mobile phones for such services. However, if our product needs academic research, for example, finding important clients for some deals like energy resources. Some people want to find a good company that provides steel product for engineering purposes, for purposes to build airplanes. They are looking for bigger companies with their reputation whom they can trust. So, for that purpose, I think we should use website maybe as well as mobile phone too, because these people tend to be really busy and hardworking. People who work in especially research and development, people who work in energy resources. I had such product. I designed such product where people had to find reputable, trusty companies which could provide unique products like steel product. So for that, for example, we built website. We designed website first, and then we tried to implement that. I mean, it wasn't so difficult, but we just made mobile application as well in case to save time for these people. It really depends on the product and the user needs. So that's why it's important to do research first. And then, based on the needs, you can decide what to build.
Oh yeah, of course. That research phase is so crucial. One for your clients, and two for how to approach it, the exact type of product to do instead of jumping in. So, how long have you been a developer for, and what made you pivot more into UX and UI design initially than do more coding?
That's a really, really great question. And I will now, I think it's time to tell my story. So, when I was little, elementary school, middle school actually, when I was about 10, 13, I started working on, at that time, I remember we started buying computers. I mean, computers were a rare thing, honestly, in my town where I lived in a small town. And my parents bought a computer, and my brother installed Photoshop there. So my interest in design started when I was teenager. I started even making my first earnings using Photoshop by editing photos, making video clips which showed slides with pictures and music in the background. And people really liked it. And I became kind of a famous person at school and among the relatives of my classmates. Everyone knew who I was as a designer, Photoshop designer, clip maker, I don't know, whatever you call it. So at that time, I started making money and I realized, this is really easy for me. I can do this. But it was just a hobby. So I it was hobby, but I knew a lot of things already: Photoshop and how to work with printers, scanners, with operating systems. At that time, it was only Windows. So So after that, when I graduated from high school, I realized I want to study something related to technology. I don't know what exactly, maybe computer science. So I got scholarship to study in America because I'm not from the US, by the way. I am from Kazakhstan. It's a post-Soviet country. We speak here two languages from birth. We speak Kazakh and Russian. We learn Russian through TV, through speaking to people. Basically, my my native language is Kazakh, but we also learned Russian at school as well, just because we used to be a part of Soviet Union. So a lot of countries, post-Soviet countries, still have people who speak Russian. So, but after high school, I knew that my English level isn't so high. So I had to first learn English before I applied for scholarship. Of course, before I started even studying computer science, first I had to go to language schools. My first uh, journey to learn English was in London, by the way. That's, I guess, where you are from, the UK, right?
Yes.
Yes, I lived in the UK for 1 year in London itself. I went there to EF school. It's called Education First, I think, or English First. I already forgot, but it was a really good school. I went there to learn English for 1 year. And after that, I got my scholarship because I knew English. I was ready to study at university with the knowledge of English. So that's when I applied for government scholarship, which covered all the costs for actually for 6 years. I signed a contract. The scholarship was given by government of Kazakhstan, and it was initiated by our president in Kazakhstan. And this was a great opportunity for me. So I studied in the US thanks to this scholarship. It covered all the costs. So I studied computer science in America at American University in Washington, D.C. At that time, I was learning only backend coding. So we started learning Python, and after that, we studied Java, just Java, not JavaScript. Nothing really related to front end development, nothing related to design, honestly. We just coded and coded backend coding, and I was still confused on not knowing the purpose of this coding, because I wanted to know what product I'm building. I just really couldn't really understand the purpose of coding, backend coding, really, because we immediately started coding some random things like games, small little games where some object randomly moves and throws some objects at some other objects. So I just didn't understand the purpose of such programming. Nobody really told me, nobody really linked it to any research, any product that should be built. So I was still confused, but I kept studying. I had to graduate. I had scholarship, so I had to study hard and graduate because I had a contract that was signed with the government. I couldn't just quit or change my major because I had a contract with the scholarship which said in bold, it said you have to study, finish this university with the major that you agreed to study. So, but I did take graphics design class once at university as an elective course, and it was pretty good. But still, graphics design is not UX design. Graphics design is more about maybe making icons, maybe drawing something for a T-shirt. I don't know. It's a bit different. It's more artistic. You have to sometimes draw by hand, and that wasn't what I was looking for. I was really interested in creating a product, understanding the need of this product. Why should I build this product? For whom I'm building this product? What's the purpose, So if anybody's just thinking about learning how to code, I first recommend understanding why you are doing this. What do you want to create? It's just what I think. So I successfully graduated, and by contract, I had to return to my home country from the US. So I did that. I came back to my home country, and here I could do. I could analyze things, like I could risk more, because in the US, every step you take costs a lot of money. For us, at least, for people who are from post-Soviet countries, our parents don't earn a lot of money unless it's super wealthy family, which I'm not from wealthy family. So so when I returned, I still had some opportunity to risk here because I didn't have a lot of costs happening for living, for rent, and so on. Because I was in my home country and I had a lot of rights here, like using medical services for free. So I was like in my own cup of tea. It was like, this is my place. I'm here. I can do whatever I want, and I felt safe, and it was easier for me to risk. So I was here. I realized that, oh, I need to improve my English more. I realized because during university I realized that my level of English was intermediate, and it wasn't really enough to understand everything. I was also confused on what I wanted to do in terms of computer science. To what direction should I go? I only know Python and Java. I don't really want to do backend programming because I don't know the purpose. So I was really confused, honestly. Then I realized, I think I should just take time and learn, like continue to improve my English for some time, and I will figure out what I will do. So I started teaching English instead because my speaking pronunciation was great since I lived in London and the United States. Speaking wasn't a problem really. So I started teaching at the same time I was learning, improving my own grammar knowledge because grammar is hard. If you're not English speaker, grammar is really difficult for non English speaking people. So so for many years I kept teaching English. It was like vacation for me too, to just take a pause and think what I wanted to do. So I kept learning English, and I also had in mind that if I keep improving my English, this would also give me other opportunities. Like maybe I will study again UX design somewhere in other country. I just really like traveling and exploring the world. I've been to many, many different countries. So I, I kept in my mind that after I finished this contract, which I did finish, the contract with scholarship, I mean, with the government, I finished that contract. My responsibilities, everything was finished successfully. So I thought, I need to keep improving English. So I kept teaching online remotely. And after that, at certain point I passed my English test. It's called IELTS. Maybe people know, international students know about this exam. So I passed this IELTS test with a really high score, in my opinion, 7.5 out of 9, which shows that my level of English is upper C1, so upper intermediate level, maybe close to proficiency level. So I really was able to improve my grammar and all the aspects of English. So after achieving that goal, I started exploring about computer science again. And I found out that because I took such a long break, a lot of things have changed. UX design was something new to me. I had never seen such profession before. When I studied at university, I never saw such profession being taught. I knew about web development, I knew about graphics design, but I didn't know anything about UX design, UI design. So when I found out by taking some courses online, I first took courses on udemy.com, because in that platform people explain with simple words, really as if you're speaking to a best friend. It's really nice, comfortable in that platform. So I took courses on Figma software, and then I switched to coursera.com because this platform is more academic, and here in this platform I was able to take courses from Google, UX design certificate courses from Google, and there are also really really high ranked universities in UX design, such as University of Michigan. They offer really good courses. So figured out that, wow, I need to take this opportunity. And since I was at home, I could risk, I didn't have a lot of costs happening. I started studying so hard. So I took lots of courses, and I really liked everything about UX design. It was exactly what I was looking for. But I think this is still my first step to success. I mean, like to perfection. I think perfection is when you know how to research, you know how to design, create smooth user flow, and then how to code. So I'm in the process of coding now, but I'm also working full time as a UX designer through Upwork. I'm learning now HTML, JavaScript, which I didn't study at all at university. Really, there were no courses on HTML. I think maybe some electives were available, but I didn't know about them. I just didn't know what really was computer science, really, what it was. So uh, now I'm really confident on what I'm doing, what where I will end up. Like I have long-term goals to really study front-end development and actually start building websites. Before that, I want to do research, design part, UI design part, and then build that product myself using HTML, JavaScript. And after that, maybe I can also study backend again. I mean, Python and Java for other reasons like machine learning. Python, for example, can be really useful for other purposes, but not for front end development, though. So that's my long term goal now. So that was my story.
Okay, so with the UX and the UI design side of things, and then obviously the coding, how are you finding, let's say, the HTML, the JavaScript, the CSS, learning that compared to doing Java, for example, which is fairly different to web. So how are you finding that contrast compared to what you did at university?
Honestly, since now my mental state is easier, my English level is higher, I think I'm finding it easier. I also heard from other people saying that front end development, HTML, should be easier than Java backend development, programming languages like Python and Java. Maybe it's true. I don't know. Too long time have passed since the time I studied at university. At university, I had a lot of pressure going on. I had scholarship. I couldn't fail any of the classes. I had to pass them with good grade. I so much pressure, I was always scared that I will fail. So a lot of pressure was happening in my head. I was so confused why I was learning that. So that's why probably it was so difficult for me to program in Python and Java. But whereas if I start learning it now, I think I it could be easier for me if I learn it using online education. I think online education is much more effective for me than going to university, honestly, because when you go to university your professors tell you one information, and it only your professor tells you in only 1 hour some important information, just general information. They don't then you if you didn't hear what your professor said, you kind of you don't get it. However, when you study online, you have access to this information for forever in most cases. You can always log in, watch, go back to what you missed, and you can learn. Programming, really, for programming, it's really hard to learn from somebody. It's really good to learn online through online lessons, I think. If we compare front end and back end programming languages, really nothing is easy. Honestly, they are really difficult. You have to study, you have to make a lot of effort, sit down, study, take time. You have to have a lot of time for it. It's not easy, honestly. It's hard work. So every step has to be programmed, and you need to be patient as well. You need to keep learning and just don't give up, because if you keep learning and you feel like I'm wasting my time, and you a lot of negative thoughts come to your head, but if you remember your goal, why you're learning, really it will really help you to motivate yourself, and you keep learning, you know. That's just in my case. I know myself. I always have to work hard. Nothing comes easy in my case.
Okay. So, what do you wish you knew back then that you know now about design, about coding, about getting into the workplace? What advice would you give yourself when starting out?
It's a really, really good question. Thank you for asking. I think I wanted at that time when I started university, I wish somebody told me the foundation, like where you should start, why the purpose of programming, really. Why are you programming? What's the purpose of programming in back end and front end? Why do you need design in programming? So research. I wish somebody explained me about research, how important doing research is. Also, I think marketing research is also important to know for whom you're creating a product. I mean, I don't expect myself to be good at everything, because I think that will take a lifetime, right? To learn everything. In big companies, for example, in Google, they have within the design, they have visual designer, UX researcher, separate person who is doing only research, and separate person for UI design. So really, of course, you can break down all these kind of branches of programming or design, and you can focus on only one sphere, which I'm doing now. I'm doing UX research and UX design only now. I'm just learning how to program because I want to know it. It's like a hobby. I want to know. So ideally I want to be good at everything, so I can work in different fields. For example, I can be a freelance web developer, front end developer. That could open more opportunities rather than being only UX designer. But you can't run after everything at once. I think people have to learn step by step. Just explore one topic farther, never give up, keep learning. And the best advice for myself that I would give is to understand why you are learning this. If nobody is telling you, do research on your own. At that time, my English level was probably lower, and I just didn't know how to do research properly. I didn't even know how to search, where to search, to whom to speak. Maybe having a mentor could be really helpful at that time, really. But ideally, when you study at university in the US, your advisor is a mentor. Usually, he's supposed to be your mentor. But my advisor was only it was we only discussed requirements of university, like what courses I have to pass in order to graduate. But we never spoke about my needs, like why am I here. So I think people should have a mentor, which nowadays shouldn't be a problem, because I studied back in 2011 until 2015. So that was quite a long time ago. Now I think it's not so difficult to find a mentor. You can even listen to podcasts, people telling their own stories. But at that time, really, social media podcasts weren't so popular, at least in my crowd and in the US as well. Maybe I just didn't have access to a lot of podcasts. I don't know. Maybe I didn't know how to research, how where to search. But at that time, I wish I knew someone who could mentor, who could give directions. But now I think, it's a lesson. You always learn things through experience. And I'm really happy that now I understand the foundation, where I should start and where I should grow to. Uh, so I'm really thankful for that. I'm always thankful for all the experience, knowledge that I received. Also, getting a scholarship isn't so easy for a lot of people. And I was so lucky to get a scholarship that covered all the costs. Otherwise, going US is so far away from Kazakhstan. A lot of people dream to study there because education is so expensive there, and a lot of people really dream to work in the US, move there to live permanently. But I was really, really lucky that I had scholarship, and I'm also lucky that I returned home so I could analyze my thoughts because I'm kind of a person who is attached to roots. I have my own roots, my own nationality, and my family, and it's very important to go back home, settle down for a little bit, just to calm down, because the US, the rhythm of like the level of life in the US is so different. Culturally, the pace is different. It's too fast for us because we take time here in Kazakhstan. We're pretty relaxed, and if we rush, then it's kind of uncomfortable for us. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, do you have any regrets for becoming a developer and not choosing a different career path?
Not really. I don't regret because I know that technology, computer science is is the path to the future. I believe really. If you study computer science and if you keep developing yourself in this field, it it's a pretty good field, a promising field. It gives you a lot of opportunities. I don't regret it because I have also a master's degree in public policy. I did it here in Kazakhstan because I had opportunity to study and I wanted to understand people's needs. Again, public relation, build connection with people. Um, Again, I was searching myself, like what I wanted to be. So, for example, public policy, where you have to work with government organizations, is not my thing for sure. I'm more into analyzing, researching, building a product. Specifically, I'm interested in building a product that's useful for people, that meets the needs of users. So that's my goal, and I think this goal is achievable. So that's why I'm working hard in this field. I like working in the field of information technology, computer science. This is really where I want to be actually. Design is just a part that I really have always liked from childhood, from teenage years. So this is the field where I see myself actually, because I don't see myself working in government. Even if I work for government, I want to help people by building a product. In terms of technology, again, anywhere I go, I think it will be related to technology. So I don't regret. No.
Okay. And would you like to work in a big company or do you prefer freelancing?
Ideally, I want to keep being a freelancer. This really suits my personality, my lifestyle, and I also can work from anywhere in the world. I love this process. It's just I need to reach certain level where I can build a reputation, and I can be hired for higher prices so that I can afford traveling. I have friends all over the world. My best friend lives in Japan. I want to. really be able to visit him whenever I want to, even maybe live there for some time to be close to my friend. Also, I have friends in the United States. My best friend lives there. I have friends all over the world, so being freelancer suits my lifestyle and my friendship that's happening all over the world. However, I also want to try to work for a bigger organization where I can focus on only one field, because when you're a freelancer, you do sometimes you do all the work by yourself. You do user research and then you do design. But if I had worked for a bigger organization, then I could be able to focus on just research or just design. Somebody else in the team would do other parts of the work. So I would learn how to work within a team. And I want to try such experience in the future. First, I don't know for how long, but if I just wanted to try if I like it or not, that could make my life easier, and I would probably learn how to work with people. I love working with people, so that would really help me. Yeah.
Okay. And what do you hate about being a developer?
Being stuck when you are coding and you have to ask other people for help. At least that was what was happening when I was student, when I was programming in Java and Python as well, because you have so many classes, and when you call the function, when you try to run your code, it fails because of one bug or one mistake that you have to fix. Yeah, I had to always go and ask my professors for help, and they would just fix it in 1 second. So that is annoying, really. So maybe at that time I also didn't know how to research, like look up on the internet. Now maybe it could be easier, but still, when you're coding, you're writing your own code, and in certain cases, nobody can really help you. You have to figure it out somehow by yourself, just trying to change something in your code. So that really is annoying. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. And if you could work on any product, past, present, or future, what would it be and why?
Difficult question, honestly. Product. So the product should be helpful to people, certainly. It should be, it should solve the problem of people. So I can't just mention one product. Yeah. Do you have any ideas?
No, I'm just asking like if there's any product or project that you might want to, specifically work on because in previous episodes I get answers like I want to work with this company or work on this game on this website. So I mean, if you don't have a particular one that comes to mind, I mean, no, that's not a problem. I just thought that there might be that one thing that you really think you would love to work on, even if it's a product from the past.
I think
Okay.
I really care about environment. So I'm not into gaming design related to game. I'm more into people. So I think what I'm interested is environmental problems like climate change. So I would like to create a product that would help people to recycle things, plastic, for example, which are thrown everywhere in the world. So something related to climate change. That could work because I have written thesis about plastic recycling in my city in Astana, where I live. This is the capital city of Kazakhstan, where I live, and we wrote research. We did a research on this topic about how people are so unaware of recycling. We have so much garbage, but they are not recycled, as for example, which are recycled in Japan. People have people recycle a lot of things, but we don't do that here in Kazakhstan, and that could be really, really a good project to work on if anybody has any ideas on building application. For example, in our neighboring country in Kyrgyzstan, I know that a team of developers created a mobile application where people can collect all the plastic. They also get paid for it through mobile application. So they first collect all the plastic, and then they go to certain point where they can actually turn in all those plastic. They measure the kilograms, how much plastic they have recycled, and they get paid for that. For every kilogram, they get paid a certain amount of money, and that process happens through mobile application. I think it's a great project. It gives people work. You create jobs for people who don't have jobs. They recycle. They do good thing for environment. They get paid for it. But I don't know if this project brings any money to these developers, because I know that these developers don't really get paid a lot. It's like charity work, almost for free. So they keep searching for sponsors, international sponsors or government sponsors. So this is a hard work that they are doing for free. I wouldn't want to work for free because I need to leave, I need to travel.
Yeah,
But
of course. So
yeah.
that's fair enough.
Mm.
Okay, so how did you find your time in the UK and US compared to Kazakhstan? And obviously, because you studied over in the West and now you're back in Kazakhstan and you're doing the freelance work there. And like you said, you can be anywhere when you're doing freelance work. You could be in Kazakhstan, you could be in China, Japan, you could be in India, you could be in the US. And because you're an English speaker outside of time zone restrictions, it doesn't really matter much. Would you ever come back to the UK or to the US to, work or not, and why?
I think I would always want to come back to the UK, no matter when. Even if I'm old, I'm an old lady. Really, I love UK. Um, I have really never thought about going back for permanent reason. I just don't know. But really, I love UK because it was the first country where I went to travel, and I had my first culture shock there. It was amazing, and I also am a big fan of Harry Potter. So I really like the UK. It's so
Okay.
diverse. The London city is so diverse. People are so beautiful. People are so different from all over the world, and I love that culture. I also lived in Scotland for one semester. I did an exchange program from the US because I missed the UK so much that I applied for several universities for exchange program, and I ended up in Glasgow, in University of Glasgow, Scotland. I loved there too. It's a bit different than London. Small town, but still beautiful. It has different culture, I must say. Their language is a bit different in Scotland, but it was nice. I love this country. The weather is perfect for me, although a lot of people hate rain, but I love rain. Um, Considering the United States, I think the US gives a lot more opportunities for international people as compared to the UK. UK is more strict, I think. It's stricter, but the US is the US gives more opportunities for people. So, if I ever go back and work for a bigger organization, as we discussed earlier, I would probably go to the US just because it's easier in terms of documents like visa problems, because the UK is a lot stricter, a lot more expensive. It's a lot harder. It's just my opinion. So I would consider the US, but of course, I love UK so much. But since I have friends in Japan, I was also in Japan, and it's a totally different culture. Also, I like this country too, and I even thought about going there for a longer time than just 2 weeks that I spent once when I visited. I want to spend some time there, maybe learn Japanese. I started learning Japanese, and I know a little. Like, I can read hiragana, katakana, for example. But we will see. Really, I'm a freelancer, and I just want to focus now on like becoming really a professional in my own field in UX design first, and then maybe to become web developer. I just want to focus on this right now, but time will show. Maybe I will move to different country. It's also possible. I love I love exploring places, and also for your understanding, Kazakhstan is not an easy place to live in terms of climate. It's so dry here, and also economic situation right now after all these political issues happening within post-Soviet countries. It's not so calm here. It's not so I don't know. It's very complicated to live here. So that's one another. That's another reason I might think about moving somewhere else, but I haven't decided yet. We will see. It's also another problem here is that people speak two languages at the same time, and you get most of the time you get confused. Sometimes we have two languages, Kazakh and Russian. So some people only prefer to speak Kazakh, some people only prefer to speak Russian, and there is a miscommunication going on only even when you work for a bigger organization. You don't you get confused by language issues. At least it's my story. A lot of people would argue with that. A lot of people would say, oh, we speak perfect Russian, like what's the problem? Or we speak perfect Kazakh, what's the problem, people would say. But still, that's my own feeling, just as one person who lives in Kazakhstan. I have this impression that it's always difficult to communicate with people. That's why that's another reason why I'm a freelancer. I can just speak in one language, English. That's it. Like there is no confusion. People understand each other. They use only one language, even if my clients are from all different countries, like Switzerland, where people speak so many languages. In Switzerland, they speak, I think, four languages: Italian, French, German, three languages in different parts of Switzerland. So, anyways, we all speak English, so it makes it makes easy to communicate. Yeah, language is a bit of a problem right now here in Kazakhstan. Just in my experience, it's one of the problems. So, in order to work for a bigger organization, I understand that I should move to English-speaking country, and that would be probably US.
Okay. And because you live in Kazakhstan and you're doing freelance work, are you, charging and getting paid the sort of rates that you would if you was a freelancer over in the, US or UK? Or are you getting paid as if, you know, you are over in Kazakhstan?
I don't think it plays any role. Yes, at the beginning, when you introduce yourself to a person who is hiring you, they are interested in where you are from. But I think really it doesn't really matter where you're from when you're a freelancer, as long as you have the skills and knowledge. If you're confident that you're perfect in this field, like UX design, for example, why not to set the same price as a person who works from the US? If you know English, if you have a degree from America like me, why should I care about the location where I'm located? Like it doesn't play any role. Maybe this would be different if I had if I hadn't had a degree from America. If I had had a degree only from Kazakhstan, maybe uh, education system is different here, so my skills could be a little different, maybe. But still, at the end of the day, if you have good skills, if you can do the work in the same quality as a person who lives in America, why should it be a problem? The location shouldn't be a problem, and people should get paid depending on their skills. I think it's just I don't set higher prices because I don't really think that I'm really experienced at this point. But with experience, I am going to raise the prices uh, because I think the more experienced I get, the higher should I get paid. I think that's normal.
Yeah, of course, that is normal. And what careers did you think about when, as an alternative growing up?
Mm, really, I don't know. Like, I only cared about technology, honestly, nothing else. Technology and design. Also, there were points when I was really good at sewing, making clothes, drawing clothes, and so maybe that was just something close to design, like artistic part of me that played a role also in becoming a designer. But again, that comes back to design. So I did consider fashion design, for example. I like uh, dressing up. I like beautiful things. I like different playing with colors. So that was just that always existed within me since teenage years. So I considered fashion design, but also I also understood that this field can get very complicated. Fashion design can become really messy. First of all, you have to work with unusual kinds of people, and also you have to work with so many details. Like it's not details that you do on computer anymore. It's details that you do with fabric. You It can get really messy. So I didn't seriously consider this field, but I really like fashion design, makeup, just skincare, uh, all the beautiful things, but never really I was seriously into those areas. I was more into practical things like understanding people's needs and creating product that is useful. Yeah. What
Okay,
about you?
so you've always as a kid, I did. Uh, uh, I mean, there was a bunch of things I considered doing. Joining the army was one
Mm,
point. Be going into being an astronaut, but it was more just
wow.
like when you're really young and you don't really know what you want to do. So it wasn't. None of them was something I was considering when I was 14, 15, 16 years old. It was when I was probably like 7, 8, when it's
Mhm.
still very playful in your mind and you don't have an idea of what that involves. But because I've always been into technology, so from a young age, I didn't know I wanted to do something with technology. And when I was applying or going to apply to university when I was around about 16, 17 or so, I thought about doing software engineering. And I remember a uncle of mine who had done, I think, computer science or IT already, and obviously he was a fair bit older. He said, You'll be better off if you do something like computer science and not software engineering or like games programming, because that's what I really enjoyed. That's what I wanted to get into. So I'm glad he did say that. And so, but I always wanted to be in technology. It wasn't any doubt that I'd you know that I would do something else. So yeah, that's basically it for me. And do you have a dream company to work at? And why? And why would why would you want to work there? And what would you like to do there?
Dream to do what? Sorry.
Do you have a dream company to work at?
Ah, dream company, of course. Since I passed several certificate programs from Google, I really want to work for this company. I know this is a big dream, but I think this company could provide a lot of lessons for me in specific field. But I need to know exactly which specific field I want to grow in within UX design, because they have separate, as I told you earlier, they have separate uh, professions like visual designer, UI designer, UX researcher, and UX designer, I think. So I need to completely know 100% which one of those I want to develop myself. So yeah, I would I would love to work for Google. So yeah, that's one company that I dream to work for. Of course, I'm ready to start to work for smaller organizations first, if that's possible. And I also understand that in small organizations, I would probably have to do all this work by myself, all the research, UI design, UX design, UX research, everything. And that could also be a good start for me to understand exactly. That's actually what I'm doing as a freelancer now. I'm doing everything by myself. But if I work for a small organization, that would just be physical, like face to face work, not online. And I would be attached to one location. Maybe that could be also nice to try. And then maybe slowly to switch to a bigger organization like Google. But my dream company is Google. As obvious it sounds, as everybody dreams, I guess.
Okay, and what do you think of remote working versus being in the office?
I love working remotely as long as you have good internet connection, like workstation, it's perfect. And also as long as you change location several times per week, that would just refresh your mind. It's really nice to change location. That's what I do. I don't always stay at home. I go to co-working centers a lot. I try to be outgoing, spend time with friends. This really gives me a lot of freedom. I love working remotely, and at times when it's convenient for me. But usually, I work as a normal person during the day. I don't work at night. That's normal for me. And again, if I work in the office, that wouldn't change a lot of things because I would still be working during the day instead of at night, because I'm a early bird. I'm not a night owl. I understand that. I know that. So uh, I prefer, if I had to choose, I would choose remote work rather than offline work.
Okay, so you're saying that you vary up, where you work. You work a bit from home, you work a bit from co-working spaces. So do you just hire the co-working space for like a couple of days or a week? And what other locations do you use for your, work to, make it not so boring and keep it fresh?
Usually, I spend time. I don't like I work remotely as a freelancer from co-working space, but I don't stay there for all day. I come to co-working space only for maybe 2 hours, 3 hours max, maybe 4 hours max if I have to do a lot of work. But I like to change locations. I stay here for 2 hours, let's say, and I go and do other stuff like other things like take my pets to vet, clinic, go to dentist and so on, other things, and then I come back here again for another 2 hours. So I love doing that. Imagine I had to work in an office like offline. I would have to be there from 9 until 6 or 5, I don't know, 9 to 5, right? I don't think that's really quality wise good for my health. I don't think I should stay there for 8 hours per day. 8 hours is too much. I think people should work for 2 hours, take a break, and then go somewhere, change location, or they should uh, do other stuff after 2 hours of working, go somewhere else. Really, be mobile, be active. and then come back again and work for 2 3 more hours, so that you work really productively for 5 hours per day, but it could be really productive for you. You could do a lot of work in five, even in 2 hours you can do a lot of work done if you're really productive, energetic enough, if you're really interested. But if you're really exhausted and for 8 hours you have to sit there and work non-stop, maybe sometimes drinking coffee, that's really unhealthy. I think that's not what I want.
Okay, and how did you find COVID, especially considering it forced a lot of people to work remotely, but also restricted, what you could do. Plus, also, was you back in Kazakhstan during, obviously, kind of still in COVID, but like at the start in 2020 and 2021, or was you over in the US or UK during COVID?
Thankfully, I was in Kazakhstan, in my home country, where my family is. My friends are like, most of my friends are here, but I have international friends, but still, I was home. So that was so nice because I was in my own place where I have settled down. I had my pets with me. But the only problem was that you couldn't really go out in Kazakhstan as well. We were locked, so we couldn't go out except for pharmacy store, um, chemists, I think it's called in the UK, and also to shops to get food. That's it. Really, it was the same as everywhere in the world. It was pretty scary. I even hired a psychologist to discuss my thoughts in my head that were actually exploding from unexpectancy, like also like uh, you don't know what will happen in the future, right? So it was kind of scary, and I thought that the world is collapsing. I thought, what is going on, And I even had a psychologist who explained everything, that the world is okay. It's not, the world is okay. You are not okay, she said. So I had to read some books about psychology, do some meditation, breathing exercises. So that really helped me. So I'm so thankful that I was home in my home country, because I had more rights rather than being in other countries. Because in the US, for example, I don't know, I wouldn't be a citizen of the US. I wouldn't have a lot of rights there. I would probably be confused, uh, just really, really confused and also scared because you're alone there. You have friends, but your family is not with you. And I don't know, I can't even imagine being somewhere else rather than being home when such thing happened. It was scary, really scary.
Oh, yeah, it was. And do you have any family members or close family friends that are developers or designers, and how did that influence your decision to become one?
I don't have older generation, but younger generation. My younger cousin, he's younger than me for maybe 5 years, 4 or 5 years. He's such a good programmer, and he got a degree from King's College from London, by the way. He also got scholarship, and he graduated just a few years ago from King's College with cybersecurity master's degree. Uh, I'm so proud of him. We are friends. We often keep in touch through social media because he lives in a different city in Kazakhstan as well. He has also had scholarship, the same scholarship as I had. That's why he has a contract to finish with the scholarship. Once he finishes, he will also be free to choose whatever he wants. Like, he doesn't have to be stuck in one profession. Because in my case, after graduation with computer science, I had to work in computer science, like specific job that I had to do in order to finish this contract with the government. I have some responsibilities. He also is doing his responsibilities now, but later on he will be free and he can do other things. Like, maybe he can also move to the UK. Why not? He's a great specialist, especially cybersecurity. Any, like, a lot of professions within computer science are very demanded in the UK. I have read their immigration requirements, like visa requirements, and a lot of professions in IT within IT are in demand. I know that, that's for sure. So he can probably take the opportunity and move to the UK. Who knows? Maybe I'll visit him. But I didn't look. Uh, I have one mentor from older generation. It's my father. He has always been my best friend, but he's not a developer. He's an architect. He has always worked with buildings, drawing buildings. So something really maybe a little bit similar to development. I don't know, but he was always good at math, geometry, physics. So he has always inspired me in math. Like he taught me math when I was at school. He didn't work, of course, as a math teacher, but he would always teach me at home. So I found that process so inspiring. I love that. I still love talking to my father. He's my best friend, my mentor, lifetime mentor. So that I think he's the one who always supported me mentally, financially as well. When I went to London, for example, that wasn't a part of contract. My first step to learn English when I moved to London, my parents had to pay for my education, and he was the one who helped me out with that for 1 year, living in one of the most expensive cities in the world, London. So he's my best friend and mentor, I think.
Okay.
Do you have one?
And I wouldn't say so. I'm not a mentor really. I don't really have any mentors. I mean, I have wanted a mentor,
Mm,
but I haven't really been able to find someone that I find a lot of people are so busy as well,
mhm,
and they, when you're starting out, they don't probably necessarily see the advantage to them. So yeah, it's a difficult one. So like you were saying earlier on in the podcast, I listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of interviews, I read a lot of books, and I get mentorship that way, secondhand. So that's definitely been very helpful, and just listening to people. So obviously I'm doing this podcast now, so I'm listening to you, listening to other people, listening to their experiences, and thinking, how can I bring that into my life. So I'll get mentorship that way as well.
I see. Great.
Okay. Would you ever switch careers?
Why not? Really, I am kind of a risk taker. And right now, for example, I'm so into UX design, but if I see that this profession isn't so useful, in my opinion, maybe for some people it's great, but if I think that this research, like doing research, doesn't give a lot of uh, ideas to create product, if I find it really difficult to do qualitative research where you ask people questions face to face or through Skype, or and you don't really know what people want and you don't know what product to build, then if I don't see any point on this, I can change to another profession, but it will still be related to technology, computer science. For example, I considered professions like a data scientist, and for that I will probably learn Python again. I also am interested in machine learning, artificial intelligence. I'm just really interested in them, but I haven't looked deeply into. But I can do that whenever I want to if I feel like I'm confused. But changing the career isn't so easy. For example, after teaching English for several years and then starting to search for computer science majors again was not so easy. I remember. In terms of finance, it's difficult because in my case I was lucky because I was living for free in my own apartment. I didn't have to pay for rent. So I didn't need a lot of money to live for living. So it's of course risky. You have to have a backup plan. You have to have savings to change career, so that you can study. You can invest your time on studying. Of course, studying nobody pays you, right? So you have to figure out your costs. But if your costs are higher than your earnings, then that can give you panic attacks, and that's not healthy for your mental health, right? So I think people should be ready for that. That's the scariest thing. But other than that, I think changing career is great. It's always a good thing, especially at the beginning. It inspires you so much. You learn new things, and you think, wow, this is so cool, this is so new, like, why didn't I know this before? You think you get a little culture shock, like it's not culture but a little shock from all this new knowledge that is so inspiring, so useful.
Okay. So, do you code outside of work, and how do you find that? Do you enjoy it as much whilst you're at work or more?
Usually I don't have a lot of energy to code after working so hard. So I do try to code over the weekends when I have free time, when I can actually focus on studying, because I'm still studying while working. So during the weekdays, I would just focus on work, on the projects that I'm working on. And during weekends, I would program and do other things that are just useful for me, uh, not work related. They don't bring any income, but they are really useful for me. So that's what I do. I use weekends.
Okay. And how was your experience, at university compared, because obviously you studied over in America. How was that experience compared to studying? I know it was at an early age, but studying over in Kazakhstan, what was the differences? What was the pros and cons in your opinion?
So in the US, you so in Kazakhstan, people focus. You know your group mates, every person by name, because university is pretty small, I guess. Maybe that's why. And also, there aren't many classes that you can take, not many options. But in America, you have so many options, so many courses. So you get so many classmates. Every class, you have different people in your class. So you don't know a lot of people, you don't make a lot of friends there. But in Kazakhstan, we have even group chat where we keep in touch all the time. So you make more friends here, I guess. It's not even friends, they're just group mates. They're not my best friends or friends. Like, we don't hang out a lot, but you still know them. You have more connections, lifetime connections, uh, to whom you can approach when you need some help related to your major. In my case, it was public policy, Master of Public Policy. So we can discuss problems related to, I don't know, policies, government. If someone is working on a project and needs help with research, we help each other like that. So if we can, we just have more connection here. But in terms of education quality, it's really depends on professors. In America, for example, you have different professors. Some professors can be difficult to understand, and here it's the same. For example, I took one class, economics, microeconomics, and I took it in the US and also in Kazakhstan, both, so I could compare. My professor was Canadian in Kazakhstan. He came from Canada to teach in Kazakhstan. And my professor in America was American, of course. So when I compared, I better prefer my Canadian professor in Kazakhstan. His explanation was really clear, smooth, and that's when I understood what actually microeconomics is needed for. Whereas in America, I hardly passed, I couldn't understand anything. The class was too big. There were 300 people in one class. But in Kazakhstan, we had only about 30 people in one class, and our professor was in a smaller classroom using a projector. He was teaching hand, like showing his handwriting. He was drawing everything. So it was much more informative, easy to understand. Really, it depends on professor. Wherever you study, really depends on your professor, I think. I was just lucky that I had a professor in Kazakhstan who came to Kazakhstan and he decided to teach here. Uh, he was a great professor. His name is Peter Howie.
Okay. And would you recommend university to people?
Right now, if you're studying how to code, I don't recommend, but it depends on your personality. My personality, uh, I need, I start panicking when I'm in the classroom. It's just my experience. I know such people exist in Japan. My friend told me that in some classrooms there are like few people who can't focus on studying because that's their personality. They're just in the environment and they can't focus. That's my personality too. So for me, a lot more convenient to study at home, online, remotely, taking courses, but it depends on person really. Yeah, every person should know what's best for them when it comes to learning new things.
Okay. You said that for coding you wouldn't recommend it. Why for coding you wouldn't recommend it? Maybe other subjects you would.
Because when you learn how to code, you need a professor who has patience and a lot of time, because you would want to ask questions, a lot of questions. So, and also, if you don't ask questions, you want to be able to scroll back to the information that you received before. So online education is perfect for that because you can always go back to what you learned before. It's always available. However, when you are learning it from somebody like professor, uh, oftentimes you feel shy to ask questions, or you don't want to take too much time, or some professors can just ignore you or they can just say, oh, come to my office hour later and we will talk. And once you get to the office hour, you might already lose that passion that you had when when you wanted to ask the question, right? So the process just goes. Whereas online, you do everything at the moment. You don't wait. You don't worry about going to office hours, and you don't stay in line because oftentimes at university, I remember when I went to office hours of professor, there were 10 other students who were also waiting for professor. So you would be stuck there. You would be sitting there waiting for your professors to be available. So that was like a lot of time. And by the time you reach your professor, you almost forget what you were doing. You lose focus, just like that.
Okay. And what myths about programming did you have before getting a job and doing the freelance work?
Before university, no stereotypes, no myths that I heard. It was just a new profession for me. It was just related to my hobby related to designing, creating product. But before freelancing, I tried to ignore or just not look at myths or what other people were saying. I focused on the courses that I was taking. I just blocked all the information that are available through social network. I just didn't want to hear people's opinion all the time, and that would just give me panic attacks. I don't know. I just there are so many opinions, right? So instead I tried to focus on the courses that I was taking. I After I started working, still I don't watch videos where people give opinion about UX design or programming, but I heard from other people like friends. They usually tell me that programming, like programmers make a lot of money. They earn a lot of money. Designers, also UX designers, can earn a lot of money, they say. However, that's not a myth exactly. You can you can earn a lot of money if you are experienced, I think. So at the beginning, obviously, you have to be ready to work even for like a little amount of money, even for almost nothing. But later on, with experience, it is possible to earn quite a lot of money, which that's why I think they are not wrong. My friends aren't wrong when they say, "Oh, you can make a lot of money with this profession." That's true. You can make money, but you have to work hard, I think.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of myths that goes around online and just in the world in general about this sort of tech field in technology, especially coding. That you can just learn it quickly, get into it, and start earning a lot of money straight away. Happens for some people, but for most people, I remember when I graduated from university, and a lot of friends of mine, got jobs, and their salaries weren't that high. Like they're a lot higher than they are now. I mean, they're a lot higher now than they were, but at the start, I remember looking at it and thinking, if they worked just a regular job full time, they would earn that money, like a regular job that they don't need a degree for, at a supermarket or something. It was almost that low. But yeah, it's one of those that if you spend a few years into it, you get the experience in X number of years, and you go from junior to mid to senior to tech lead to lead, all that stuff. In the next role, if you're already, let's say, a lead engineer, you're going to demand a lot higher salary. But I also feel like when you're at that level, it might take a little longer to get a job because more people. I mean, there's more junior engineers and mid-level engineers that are required than seniors because there'll be less seniors in a team compared to the lower people. So yeah, I think that's definitely one myth about programming. The other myth is that I'd say if you just have an interest in technology and you have an interest in computers and gaming and consoles, that you're automatically going to be good at it. And that's just not the case as well. So I think there's that myth that people have about it.
I agree with you totally. People mistakenly think that once I become a designer who creates interaction in user interface design, once they become designer, they will immediately start making a lot of money. They think, which is not true, really. Design, especially, is so complicated. I don't know. It depends when some people might not even like your design ideas, right? You have to confirm that with your with the people who you are working with, and yeah, it's not easy. I just want to say that it's not easy to reach the level where you earn proper money that can be enough for you to live anywhere in the world. Like, if you want to live in New York for 1 month, of course you need to make a lot more money. It's really expensive there unless you live in maybe in the suburb areas, like maybe in Brooklyn. I heard it's cheaper, but I've never lived in New York. I've been there several times. It's such a big city and expensive too. And I heard prices about Los Angeles, San Francisco actually. I heard it's very expensive there too. So, as a freelancer, I also understand clearly that right now I'm not ready to move anywhere in the world. I'm not ready financially. I'm still gaining experience. So, after several years, when I earn enough experience, when I close more and more serious contracts, then I will definitely reach that point where I can actually have enough savings to move to different country, different city, like big city like New York for 1 month, 2 months. Uh, so we will see. Yeah, really, it's hard work. It's just you shouldn't give up. That's the thing. You need to keep working
Oh yeah, of
as a
course.
yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely very important to not let the hard times get to you, especially when you are coding you and learning stuff in technology. You're gonna have problems. It's gonna be very new. You'll be trying to do something, it just won't work. The function won't work properly, or it won't load or this or that, or it was working yesterday, it won't be working today. And you've just got to, get through that. It's a difficult stage right now, but it's just something that you have to get through.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I've got a few more fun generic questions now.
Mhm.
And so the first one, would you rather run a 10-person company or a 1,000-person company, and why?
I think I would prefer a smaller company. Mm, I think when you have a smaller, it's remember I told you about a big class and small class. So when you have a big class, the quality you lose quality. I think it's just I have never had experience, but I would choose a smaller team because you can reach people easily, quickly, and you can discuss things faster, make changes. You are very flexible when you have only 10 people working with you. Uh, Changes can be really done quickly. So I prefer smaller team. What about you?
I mean, I have always dreamed about running a large company, but I agree with a 10, like with a small company, you could know everyone's name, you could know
Mhm.
them on a personal basis, you could understand how they work, and it's very, very important to be able to connect with people that you're working with. Obviously, with a
Mhm.
1,000-person company, you're not going to remember everyone's name. You're not going to remember every little bit about them. And also, with a 10-person company, you can give a lot more time to each person, so you can create meaningful relationships. Whereas with a 1,000-person company, even if you want to, you can't spend half a day with one person, or with every person. It's just not a practical thing to do. Whereas with a 10-person company, you could spend half a day with every person, in the week, and you will be all good. Whereas with a larger company, if you're interacting with people that aren't, let's say, managers, for example, you're probably going to be able to give them 5-10 minutes, and I feel like for you, it doesn't create that meaningful relationship to get the most out of them necessarily, but it also, for them, they feel like they was just surface level. So yeah, I mean, both. I can see the merits of. I think what I would like is to have a large company, but then within that have smaller teams, and even if I'm at the top, have a team around me of, let's say, managers and directors that have their own smaller team. So I'm still, interacting with a core set of, let's say, 10 or so people, but then also interacting with some of the other people lower down as well.
You're right. Everything is possible, I think. You can also, even if you have a large company, if you want to connect to people more, you can build a platform where people
Mm.
can openly communicate with each other. Even if there are so many people, this platform could let people communicate, like chat, for example, online chat. Uh, that doesn't require a lot of time, but just to openly say something online. Feedbacks, mm, things like that can also help. Of course, both of these options have their downsides and upsides, because when you work for a small company, you can, when you run, as you said, if you run a small company, then sometimes you build such a close relationship that it becomes difficult to focus on the task. Because you rather start focusing on your relationship with this person. You build so much empathy, you build such a strong friendship, and it's harder to explain these people that we need to focus on work rather than being so like such a big family of people in a team. That so you need to have a clear communication skill if you have a small company, and for a big company as well. You need communication is the key. Really, it's important. Mm.
Oh yeah, for sure. And okay, here's an interesting question. This is one that I really like asking. Does money buy you happiness?
No, no. The reason is because I recently realized that I really like someone. Um, and before I liked this person, it was like almost love feeling, romantic feeling. Um, I almost thought that I fell in love with this person, but I don't really know exactly what love is, how to measure it. So I really like this person. And at that point, I realized that nothing else makes sense except my feeling for this person. My feeling for this person is the most important thing. Other things aren't so important, like where I am, where I live, where I want to move, or uh, where where I want to work from. Nothing matters. So, of course, money also wasn't important when I realized that I like this person so much. My feeling for this person was so strong. The reason is because I felt so much connection and support from this person, which I would never receive from any other sources like money or success or being successful in my own career field or getting another degree in UX design, going to university. Nothing would replace this feeling. It was so strong. So I realized that my I realized that obvious phrase where people say love is the most important thing, I guess. Like really, that's the strongest feeling that can change your life, that can bring you so much energy, so much positive energy, so much meaning to your life that nothing else is important anymore. Your feeling for this person is the only thing that's important for you. And that's when you change your life. You start taking care of yourself, you start loving yourself, valuing yourself, you start going to doctors, checking yourself, like basically taking care of yourself. You start becoming such a happy person all of a sudden. So that's I'm so thankful for, because before this feeling happened, I was kind of, again, I was almost losing myself again. Like, what am I doing in this world? Like, what's my purpose again? I ask this question all the time, like, what's my purpose? Why am I here? What am I doing here? Always asking myself these questions. But once I realized that I like this person, I realized that I'm I'm here for a reason. I love myself. I'm just present. I'm just here. That's it. There's no you don't need any reason. You don't need any explanation. You just understand that you just value yourself because you exist. You exist and he exists, and you are like, that's the purpose of life. That this moment where I can like somebody so much and receive so much positive energy, that's the meaning of life. So money doesn't buy happiness for sure.
Okay. And still on the topic of money, would you rather have 5 million, US dollars upfront, or half a million US dollars a year for the rest of your life, and why?
Half a million a year, I think.
Half a
Because
million a year. Why would you say that?
the reason is because I just need money to live. So if I have enough money every month that I get actually like funded in my account, just like getting a salary, I will be fine. And if this amount of money is enough for living, for traveling, visiting my friend whenever I want, that's the only thing I care about. Of course, I want to also be helpful to other people. Maybe I would think about if it's a large enough money, then I would think about building, like helping animals, like homeless animals, maybe fostering, creating a product that could help to foster homeless animals, like stray animals, mostly cats and dogs, because I don't know much about other pets like rabbits and other things, but I'm most familiar with dogs and cats because I have helped several stray cats and dogs to find new owners. I just fostered them in my own place, took them to the vet, healed them, gave them another life, and gave to someone else who could better take care of these pets because I have my own pets and I can't take more. Anyways, I would use that money for myself first. Of course, I love myself, my my time which I can spend with my friends, and for charity. I think
Okay. And favorite board game?
I don't really have one, but in Kazakhstan we have one game called Stupid. It's called. It's a card game. So, do you know like card that you use for poker?
Yeah.
Basically you use the same cards and it's game. Maybe I can teach you one day, but it's so easy. Really, this game was so special when I was child. We used to play this game all the time, so this game is my favorite game. It's called Stupid. In Russian it's called Durakach. Durak in Russian. Durak means
Okay.
stupid.
I'll Google that afterwards because I haven't heard that game before.
Okay.
What's your favorite video game?
Need for Speed. Speed for Need. I forgot.
Yeah, Need for Speed.
Yeah.
Which one?
The first ones that came out when we were little, when I was teenager.
Oh, okay,
Hmm,
so the early
I
ones
like
on
that
I
game.
think PS1 and PS2.
But also, in addition to that, I also like Mario. Do you know this game, Mario?
Oh yeah, I think everyone knows the game.
Uh,
Have you seen the trailer for the new Mario movie?
no, I haven't. But we used to play Tetris when I was little, so I love this game. But I will see. I
Yeah,
will look at. Thanks.
and the favorite movie.
Wow, that's a difficult question. Right now, I would choose Harry Potter. Because I read all the books and I watched the movies. Love it. Every moment of it. Because I'm in love with UK. Of course I love Harry Potter. It's my favorite movie. Other than this movie, I don't know. Maybe so favorite is Harry Potter, but I also like The Holiday, Christmas movie. Also I like it's called Stateless. It's a TV series from Netflix. Um, Stateless is about a woman who immigrates to Australia. It's about immigration. Really good movie about the dangers of immigrating to another country illegally. Interesting. It's just interesting. Yeah. What about you?
What favorite movie?
Hmm.
It's a difficult one. I'd say Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy would be up there for me, but I
Mm.
really do like Lion King as well, the original animated one.
Ah. No, Lion King is too sad for me. I cry all the time.
Okay. And so yeah, that's basically all the questions I've got for the podcast. Just one last thing. What advice would you give to someone that's looking to get into, to become a developer, to become like a designer like yourself? What advice would you give to them?
Uh, I would give them advice to start from the beginning when you come into building a product. If your purpose is to build a product, any product for somebody or for yourself, please start from the beginning. Please research, do research user needs, and then learn how to design, and then learn how to code. Don't do the other way around. Don't start learning from hardcore programming like Python and Java like I did. Please learn the foundations first, the purpose of why you are becoming someone who creates a product, because every programmer creates a product and your goal is to understand the reason. Without the understanding of reason and purpose and goal of this product, you cannot build a product. So first, please learn how to do UX research, and then please learn how to design what product could solve those problems based on your research, and then learn how to code as further steps. So coding is not everything. Please understand that coding doesn't. Coding is useless if you don't have purpose, if you don't understand your purpose and goal of your product. So first, please understand the reasons and search for design. What is UX design? So that's my advice. And also, we are all in this together. Don't worry, you will be fine. Just keep your interest, your passion towards this field. Don't give up. You're not alone. uh, I've seen so many people in my LinkedIn. Every day they send me requests, and every person in this request, I see they are all beginners in UX design, web development, and data science. They're all here, they're all learning, and we're all together in this. So don't worry about, don't be scared, just also maybe fall in love because when you fall in love it gives you meaning in this life, it gives you, it boosts your energy and it helps you to focus on your positive sides rather than being negative about yourself, judging yourself, because we tend to judge ourselves for failing. And programming is fixing all the failures all the time. Every time you fix mistakes and bugs, you work on your mistakes. And design too, design is always changing based on your test. For example, you design a product, once you test it you change it again, and once you launch this product, based on people's reviews you change it again. So basically it's full of changes, and don't be afraid of that. Also be patient, don't hurry, take your time. Every person has its own learning pace and learning approach. Find yours. If you want to go to university, go for it. If you want to learn online, go for it. So just find what's suitable for you. So that's all I want to say. Do you have anything to say? Maybe you have some advice.
Yeah, I would say if you're looking to become, a developer, ideally try and start off, as young as possible. So if you're, let's say, at school, you're thinking about it, and you're thinking, oh, I'll get to university and I'll start studying it. I'll say, start studying it now. It doesn't have to be, 8 hours a day. Just a half an hour here, hour here. You know, figure out if you actually really want to do it, because I've seen that before where even people that are good at developing, they try it and they realize they don't like programming. So,
Mm,
figure out that you really want to do it, but then also figure out what type of coding you want to do. Because obviously you got so much. You got web, you got mobile, you got games, you got networks, and within that you got small little stuff like within web you got front end, back end, full stack, and within that you got different types of stuff as well. Front end could just be raw HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or it could be frameworks like React and Vue.
mhm,
So just figuring that out, and figuring out if you want to do remote or on-site. I prefer remote, but I know there are people that prefer on-site or prefer hybrid, depending on their personality traits. And figuring out if you want to do it alone, if you want to freelance, if you want to work for a company, and you know, does that company have to be big? Sometimes you're better suited to a smaller company. So that's the sort of stuff you want to figure out. But just get going, and also create a portfolio as quick as possible. And because even if you have a degree, compared to a portfolio, it will not be worth that much. The degree helps, especially on paper, but after that, you need a good, solid portfolio. And also know what you're worth as well. There'll be so many times, especially when you're doing client work, that the client will be, can you do this? Can you do that? Yeah, you can do it, but realistically, it's extra time and you should charge for it. You got to have the confidence to, from the start, let them know how it works, that obviously this is the body of work we've agreed to, and this is the price. But anything majorly extra, you'll charge for it. And don't be afraid to charge for the analysis stage as well. Be confident in that opinion, that it is very important. So that would be my advice. broadly speaking.
I see. Yeah, it sounds great. It sounds like an advice from experienced developer, I must say. Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
been doing it for a while. So yeah, I just want to thank Asian for coming on to the podcast today and discussing her experience as a developer, as a UX and UI designer, and just her overall experience. You know, up to this point, it's been really insightful. I'm sure a lot of people out there will find it useful. If you like the podcast, just give it a rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Anchor, whatever podcast platform you use. Just give it a 5-star rating, and yeah, I just want to again thank Asian one more time. I'll get any social media links or anything else she wants to share. I'll put that in the description so you can check out what she's up to. And that's it. I just want to thank Asian one more time and thank everyone for listening.
Thank you for your time as well. Thank you for inviting me. Okay,
Bye, everyone.
bye.